everyone. Welcome back to Innovation Nation today. I'm so excited to have the Kindness crew on with me. We're not gonna talk too much today about technology. We're gonna talk about a few other things today in society and why the Kindness Games came about and how it came about. So I'm gonna move it over so we can have the group showing. You should all be able to see everyone now. And we'll start with you, Kelsey.
Sure. Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate you having us on here. So exciting. I'm Kelsey Carnell. I am part of Get Security Done, or GSD, along with these fine people on the call. I've been in the security industry for almost 5 years, and I guess I'm part of the kindness committee, we call it, right? So I'll toss it to Kekashan.
Thank you, Kelsey. Hi, everyone. My name is Kekashan Dadwani. Sarah, thank you so much for having us on today. I'm super excited to talk about kindness and how kindness came about. And I think we actually will end up talking about technology because it was a huge part of it. I am also part of Getting Security Done, GSD, as well as the Kindness Committee. And I am also the co-host of the Real Kindness Game, which was kind of a spinoff from the kindness game. So super excited to be here. I've been in the security industry about a little over 4 years myself. So I'm excited to be here and talk with these fine folks. So Lee, I'll hand it off to you.
You are so cool and bright and spunky in the morning. It's just lovely to be here. So, for those of you who don't know me, I am the exciting, insatiable Lee Alton, the co-founder of the Kindness Games and ambassador, influencer for the GSD crew. And I am speaking in this really positive and kind way today because it is the most depressing day of the year, Blue Monday. But guess what? We are going to crush it with kindness and slam it with positivity. So, hey guys, I'm super excited to be here. I am going to hand it over to my brother from another mother, Mr. Tim Wenzel. Tim, come on down.
Dude, it is Monday morning. I'm still drinking, like, to get awake. Like, how are you guys? This is killing me. Hey, Tim Wenzel, everybody. Part of GSD crew and co-founder of the Kindness Games along with my brother Lee over here. And happy to talk to you today about how this movement got started, born out of the GSD movement and how it's kind of starting to take shape. It's kind of fun.
Awesome. So I want to kind of go back to the beginning first, and then we can talk through how the spinoff came about. We can talk through, to your point, or to the group's point of technology, right? We are going to kind of talk about technology and how that did play a big role in this. So Tim, if you want to kind of give us the origin of the Kindness Games and how that started, and then we'll make it a round table.
Awesome. Yeah, so in September of 2020, I was traveling for work and doing my second round of location-specific quarantine. So 2 weeks in a single hotel room, not allowed to leave. And the first quarantine I had done for that year, the whole George Floyd incident had kicked off. And so I spent 2 weeks watching that coverage and that frenzy build up. And it was quite depressing. And so now a couple months later, I'm back in a hotel room with this thing that started 2 months prior, still going on. Riots, destruction, hate and discontent on all sides. And it was my first night. I had just set up shop and I sat down, I turned the TV on and the news came up and I turned it off immediately. And I said, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to survive this 2 weeks. And so I was on LinkedIn, as I always am. And my brother here, Lee, he had done a post saying, hey, so-and-so, thank you for doing whatever it is that you did. And it was something super simple. And I was impressed by how simple whatever had been done. I think it was literally like, thanks for covering a shift over the weekend and locking the door when you left. You're amazing. You keep this company going. And, but the funny thing is, right, covering a shift over the weekend or something like that, lots of people don't want to do it. Security often functions on the simple generosity of employees to cover down. And as I was kind of laughing to myself at this post that Lee did, like, it borders on ridiculous, but actually to that person, like, how much did that mean? And so I left a comment. I was like, dude, Lee, you're amazing. Like, why don't we do this every day? And he says, great, let's start tomorrow. I was like, okay. And so I cut out of that screen. I went and I'm like, the kindness games starting tomorrow. Leon and I are going to outdo each other in kindness for 30 days, which I hadn't talked to Lee about. I just threw the 30 days out there. And I was like, great, like, perfect. So I go to sleep. I'm not in the core North American time zone. And I wake up around noon Lee's time. And he was like, Tim and I are doing a video a day for 30 days. I was like, oh my gosh, a video a day. No, it's not what I signed up for. How do I delete Lee's posts? Rewind this. And so then I was going through that day, and I was thinking, like, how am I going to come up with a video a day? Like, I was just going to like type something nice. But then I got on a call with Keikashan that day, and I hadn't talked to her in like probably like 4 months, 5 months maybe, because we hadn't talked since we left the office for pandemic. And she provided me with all the inspiration I needed that day. And I think we'll talk about that a little bit later. And so the Kindness Games was born with really a lighthearted, friendly competition to kind of help me cope with the 2-week quarantine. That's how it started.
So Lee, I want to tap on you now, because Tim made a good point, and he said, when you complimented, it was your coworker, I guess, right? And on something so simple, thanking them for their effort and whatever they were doing, to help keep your company together. You did something and made someone feel a certain way. And how did it feel from your perspective, Lee, receiving the acknowledgement from Tim that what you did was so nice and turning this into a movement? Like, did it make you realize at one point, like, wow, we need more of this in the world? I mean, for Tim, it's obvious he felt that way, right? So like, from your perspective, Lee, it seemed like you were waking up in the morning anyways, thanking people naturally. So being able to highlight that now, make it a whole movement, like, what does that mean to you, and how has that felt, being a co-founder of the Kindness Games?
Lee is a kindness power broker.
I've noticed that. Naturally you are, Lee, we know that, but I want you to speak to that, right? Because it's a lot of your nature, I feel like, and anyone who knows you would know that about you. But I'm curious as to like how you feel and like how you show up every day this way, right? And continuing that.
Yeah, so super cool. I love what Tim says as well. So I've chosen in life the positivity choice lifestyle. Okay. I've gone through a roller coaster of train wrecks in my past and negativity. And I think most of the kindness crew know my story. And I'll share a little bit. I've even been to jail in Texas, unfortunately, which wasn't an all-inclusive sandals resort. It was not very plush or kind to me. But that being said, that is actually where I had what I call the mirror moment. And I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh my God, what has happened to me? And myself and Tim, we've interviewed a really close friend of mine called Andy Bishop. And we talked about the man behind the mask, in men's mental health. So that was my moment when I removed my mask and identified who I really was. And from that day forward, I decided that I would not let bad karma or negativity float into my life. So I just chose this, the choice lifestyle of positivity. And everybody that knows me is that I love to motivate. And I feel that, I do believe in God, but I don't go to church every weekend. But I believe that was my God-given gift. I believe that positivity and kindness and caring for others is a gift that I was given. And my mission is to share it with everybody else. So that is what I've gone on. And it was like really simplistic for me when Tim, decided to start the kindness games and asked me, and I was in, and then became the co-founder, and then we just went with it. And for me, I just love to give to people. Look, I mean, you guys know, I will put everybody else first before me. That's just the way I am. And I would rather, like, a lot of people, like, if you want a job, I'm not saying I can get you a job, but send me a CV and I'll try and help you. Yeah. And I'm not one of these people that says, oh, I'll help you. I will help you. I will move mountains. I will walk through fire to give something to you. Because I just believe that everybody deserves a chance these days. And I think we live in a society where we just want to bash someone. And I remember 2 years ago, and I'd been out for a run on Christmas Day, which is, it's crazy in its own right, because most people just relax on Christmas Day, but not this lunatic. I was out running. And anyway, I ran past, like where I live where I was in the UK, I ran along the beachfront, and then I ran back to where my parents' house is. And when I was running back to where my parents' house was, I saw a homeless person. And he was around about the same age as me, right? And so this really struck me. So I ran home, and this may sound a bit nuts to some people, but I had 200 British pounds in notes. So I went in, I grabbed it, and then I ran back down, and I just gave this money to this homeless guy. And all I said to him was, hey, just change your life. And that was it. So I don't know whether he did, or what he did with it. And in retrospect, it doesn't really matter. I just wanted to give him something kind and make his Christmas. So that just kind of shows who I am. I don't do it to be liked. I don't do it to get anything back. For me, I just want to give to you and, just create some happiness, because I believe if I can help one person, then I might flip that one person's mindset into positivity too. And then that person may reach out to the next person, okay, and then create some positivity and kindness. So, it probably encapsulates, the term servant leader. But again, I don't go out of my way and say I'm a servant leader. At the end of the day, a lot of people call me that. But again, I don't do it for accolades or, for a big drum roll or a pat on the back. I just genuinely love it. And I just want to help and give as much as I can. And that's why, we started, the kindness games. And that's why we've, Tim and Keikishan went off and did the real kindness games. Kelsey came in. We've got so many people that have just got infectious about it, and we're continuing it. And we've kind of branched out and done other things as groups. Like we do a thing called the Wild Leaders, and most of us go to that. And it was Tim who put me onto it, and I think the others, and I've fallen in love with that. I've got really passionate about that. So I think now I'm just trying to do things that make me passionate, and helping others is, through kindness and positivity is what it's all about. Anyway, I am going to zip it for now, because the ladies deserve to say something. So the mic back to you, Sarah.
No, thank you. That's a great overview. And I will say, Lee, like there is this one memory I have specifically where I think we had barely met, and I met you through Tim, through the kindness games and through GSD, I think. And I had decided very last minute, and to go to Mexico. And I was going alone to meet my friends, and I reached out to Lee and I said, Lee, hey, like I'm looking for some help. And I knew you had, this executive security company. And it kind of dawned on me last minute where I was like, oh, like maybe Lee knows someone that could help me out getting from like the airport, to Tulum, because it's like a 2-hour drive. I'm a young lady. I didn't want to go alone. I was scared, barely know Spanish. And I was like, how do I get from like A to B? Not knowing anyone really in the country, and all my friends having already been there. So Lee literally dropped everything he had, barely knowing me, and set it up within like a 4-day notice, and had his guys on it. He had one of his his team leads meet me, drive me. It was just the most amazing experience. And like having barely known you, Lee, and having such a last minute notice to go to Mexico, and you drop everything you had, especially for your own team, to accommodate was like one of the most kind things anyone could have done. And if it wasn't for you, my trip wouldn't have happened. I think I'd even told you, Lee, I'm literally deciding to go whether or not, like, based on if I can find an accommodation to get to Tulum. And so do you remember that? Do you remember that little,
I do, I do. And it was my pleasure. And I'm glad, yeah, for me, as I said to you, I wanted you to come to because I call this my country now, because I live here. I wanted you to come to my country, just, live it up and love it. And I'd like to think that you had a fabulous time too, right?
I did. It was the best time. And I actually ended up going back 8 days later. And I had gone with a friend. We drove from the airport to Tulum, but ended up going back because it was the best place and I had the best time. And I wouldn't have had that opportunity if Lee didn't, make it happen in the first place. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for saying that. But I'm going to give a big thanks to Fernando, who was the guy that drove you and looked after you. He's one of my boys there. He's a good man. He's a family man. So thanks to Fernando.
Yeah, we're going to have to tag Fernando if he has a LinkedIn. We're going to have to give this as his nomination to the Kindness Games.
I don't think he has a LinkedIn, but we can still tag him. We can show him the love.
There we go. So now I want to bring it to the ladies. I want to hear from you girls now and like help me understand as kind of being like the day two, but like original, participants, like what that was like for you. And then I also want us to have a chance to talk about the spinoff. So Kelsey, we can start with you if that's okay.
Sure. Thank you. Beautiful words from everybody so far. This is amazing. And it's kind of a really awesome recap of everything that's happened, because I feel like it has been many years that this has been going on, but it really is a short amount of time, and over 50 people participating, which I'm sure the guys will get to, is quite incredible. So I feel like I joined the Kindness Games. I met Tim in 2018. Lee, I saw present at Accelerize this year, or last year rather, in 2020. So both inspired me from the start. Both severe, as you guys are doing, it is incredible. So I joined the Kindness Games because kindness, I feel like in this day and age, is seen as a bonus. And I feel like it should be a way of life, especially because, holding the door for someone costs nothing. Random acts of kindness, like buying a coffee for someone or waving and smiling. I really loved what they started, and I was totally on board from the start. Plus, when Tim nominated me, I am up for any challenge. So game on. That kind of ignited the fire. But also, I really just believed in what the Kindness Games was and really what they've created, because I think people, if you treat people with kindness, they respond better, for one. I think simple gestures kind of are overlooked these days, and I sort of touched on that before, but I really am a people person and a total extrovert. So being in quarantine, or being in the past year working from home and being remote, I just really want to thank Tim and Lee, because I focused a lot of that energy on the virtual stuff, and it was a weird change for me, because I am a hugger totally. I'll go up to you and I'll talk your ear off, as Tim knows. Poor guy. First time I met him, I think I talked for 40 minutes. It's incredible what has started. And the people that I've met, I know we've talked about this a few times before, but people that I've met in like instant connections, I really was not doing the Kindness Games to grow my network by any means, but I have friends in all over the place now. People in Texas, California, overseas even. So I think really it's, if you do something to connect with people remotely, or maybe put a smile on their face, you never really know who you're inspiring or what change you're making. And I think that also is a huge tribute to what has been started, because we really all just did it because we believed in it and we wanted to make a difference. But if you think about the impact that has happened or is continuing to happen, and the change that maybe is flipping mindsets, that is 10 times more impactful than anything, I think.
And I think, Kelsey, you hit it right on the head right there. One of the main positive byproducts has been all of the amazing people who have joined the Kindness Games, not because it's a cool thing to do. I don't know if it's cool. I don't think it is. But they prioritize kindness and generosity in their lives. And all the people around the world, from India to Africa to the UK to Canada, um, people that have just jumped on this because they believe in being kind, and we've got to meet them and form relationships, and we jump on Zooms now, and I know amazing people across the world that I didn't know prior. And I've been able to form relationships so quickly because they're just kind people, and that's why we're meeting, is because we can all get behind this idea that we should lead with kindness. So good call out.
I think the other thing too is the other part that inspired me was we all have mentors too. And I am huge proponent of giving back to those people or giving them shout outs, because I would never be where I am if I didn't have those mentors and those people, or even friends, right? Or family. So that was another big part for me. That's another reason why I really wanted to partake, because a lot of those people go unthanked, right? We kind of take advantage because we're like, oh yeah, this person helped me, but then you don't stop and really try to recognize them. Or I feel like there's really no platform other than just picking up the phone and calling them to thank them. Or if you got a promotion, you're like, oh, it's because of this person, let me call them. So I feel like this is another good outlet to give thanks to those people.
Well said.
Thanks.
I really like. I want to let Keikoshan, give her piece, but I also then want to bring it back to, because I know we'll dive into a little bit about the real kindness games now too. But then I do want to bring it back to talking about that community that you guys have created, because I will just say I wouldn't have known any of you if it wasn't for the technology that we have today, and where we're taking it and what we're doing with it. So we'll bring it back to that in a few minutes, but now to you over there, Keikoshan.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And Lee, Tim, Kelsey, like you guys have like put the nail on the head. Like it was really about reflecting on, people who have done such great things for you. And even not just people who have done great things for you, but recognizing those young professionals who are coming home who sometimes don't get recognized. Like I really, really enjoyed the kindness games. Like Tim, thank you for making me, first of all, your first call out. That was like I watched it and I felt like I had tears in my eyes, because no one really takes the time to like call you out, right? Like they don't say, hey, I appreciate you for being who you are. And I felt like the kindness games like really helped me take a step back and reflect on the incredible community that I have, right? Like it really does take a village to bring you along through your journey and help you realize your own talents. I personally had I took a different approach to the kindness games. I know Tim, Lee, and Kelsey went 30 days straight. Like they went every single day. They were calling someone out. And I kind of took a different approach. I gave myself the grace, because sometimes I'm really hard on myself if I don't do it exactly the way that I need to. And I was like, it's okay if you can't do it every single day, but as long as you keep going, as long as you finish the commitment that you've made. And I actually ended up finishing my kindness games on Thanksgiving Day with what I called a kindness explosion, which was, I had so much fun doing it because it helped me really just put it out there that, hey, it's coming up to Thanksgiving. Like Thanksgiving shouldn't be the only time that you're thankful for the things that are like great in your life. And to be able to use technology in a way where you're not only just, spreading misinformation or talking about things that are, so there's so many negative things that are happening in our world that are because of technology, but you can use it in an opposite sense, right? Like you can use it to spread kindness, to spread curiosity. And that's kind of where Tim and I started the real kindness games. It was meant to, like, the conversation that Tim and I had, it's so easy to be kind to people that people who have helped and supported you. It's so much harder to be kind to someone who you do not share the same values or the same ideals as. And so Tim and I early on kind of figured out that we were on opposite spectrums of the political views. And we had a really real conversation like, can we still be friends? Can we still be friends if you think this way and I think this way? It was like, yeah, of course. Like we're both kind, curious people who are aware of our political biases, but that is not something that divides us. It's what unites us. And that's where we kind of came up with the real kindness games. And Tim, I'd like tell the story because I think you're so much better at that than I am.
Well, it was ironic that that morning I was trying to figure out like, what am I going to do for videos? Like, this is ridiculous. And I had a call with you, and we hadn't talked in a few months. And so because I had this kindness games thing on my mind, I jumped on. Hey, Keikishan, how's it going? We've known each other for a few years. We work together a lot. Most months we meet once or twice a month to talk about like work and life and how things are going. And we hadn't had that. And so, when we got on the call, I was like, how's it going, Keikishan? And then you just started laying your burden at my feet, which was amazing that friends can do that. But as you laid your burden, I was like, so this is interesting because she thinks that I agree with these political views. We've never talked about politics before because why would you, right? And I would say if I wasn't wrestling with how to move forward in the kindness games, I probably would have done what I've always done in the past and just let it slide, been supportive and moved on. But because I'm in this spot where I'm in quarantine, I'm watching riots and like craziness on the news, and I'm wrestling with like, how do I show kindness in video format? I started thinking as she was talking, like, we're really good friends, but if I let her know like what I really believe about these things, can we still be friends? Because the TV's telling us we can't be. The world is telling us that you cannot be friends. One of you has to be virtuous and the other has to be evil, which I think is a false choice. And so as she was talking, I was kind of just listening and kind of wrestling. And I finally said, hey, let me tell you a story. And I told her a little story about something that had happened to my wife and I. And it kind of illustrated our political views. And I said, so now that you know that I really don't share your beliefs, like, I'm wondering, like, I'm worried, like, are we still going to be friends? And she sat back and she was like, wow, that's really sad that you have to ask that question, but I know why you have to, because this is where we're at. And that 30-minute sync turned into a excuse me, a 90-minute conversation on what is wrong with today and how did we devolve, to this point to where we can't even have a kind conversation. And so I called her out as my first kindness games because of that conversation. And it was amazing. And we decided that we need to talk on a weekly basis. And we have since September of 2020. And yeah, and then shortly after we kicked off the real kindness games because we felt it was important that you can still be friends with people who don't share your political views or aren't from the place where you're from or don't have the same type of human experiences as you, because kindness is really about human connection. And we came to the conclusion that if we're both humans, we have far more in common than could ever separate us if we choose to, right?
Yep. Yeah, it was honestly one of the greatest things that came out of 2020 and the kindness games. We were able to, like, I was able to evolve some of my thinking as well. It's sometimes when you live in one part of your life, it's so much harder for you to see the rest of the world and see your own biases. And being able to participate in the kindness games, one, recognizing how many people have been influenced by so many other people, but also be able to talk to Tim about different things. Like we've talked about, the false choices, insult and offense, like how in the age of information, sometimes we forget that just because you're given a piece of information does not mean that is the information that you have to accept and agree with, that it's okay to question things and to have conversations with people that are difficult. A lot of times we say, when you come onto a dinner table, don't talk politics, don't talk religion, don't talk about things that are, controversial. But if you don't have those conversations, then are you really learning? Are we really being aware, becoming aware of different positions and different ideals? And so we just want to encourage people to have conversations that are controversial and conflicting, and be able to do it in a kind and curious way, because you're putting your curious hat on and you say, hey, I want to learn your perspective. Like, how did you get there? What are some ideals that you have that lead you in this direction? Because I'm not trying to tell you that you're wrong. I'm just trying to understand. I think if we have conversations in that way, I think we can have a much more connected society. And I think technology had a lot to do with it. We could have not done this had technology not been there. So it may be innovation of community, but also benefited by innovation of technology.
Well, and it is a perfect point you made is that you are here to learn, you're here to be curious, you're not here to tell you that you're wrong. We've gotten into this weird place to where we are right and everybody else is wrong, and that somebody has to be right and somebody has to be wrong. And the funny thing is, one of the big things that we talked about is the dangerous ideal of tolerance. How this whole like, oh, we need to be tolerant of each other. I start off that show with like, Keikishan, you've been such a good friend all these years. And I sing her praise and she's like, thanks. I'm like, and I've really learned how to tolerate you. And she's like, what? And we can't be friends if we're just tolerating each other. It's an impossibility. But we need to come to the place to say, we can all have different ideas. That's what makes us beautiful. We can all have different opinions. That's what makes dinners interesting, right? And we do not have to only surround ourselves with people that agree with us. In fact, life would be far too boring if we knew the outcome of every single conversation we set out to have. That's probably the reason why we don't talk anymore, is because we've surrounded ourselves with an echo chamber that we're comfortable with. And so we're helping people understand that they need to be uncomfortable, push themselves into discomfort if they really, really want to learn about the world around them.
I think I keep seeing, I wonder, Lee, I think you have some thoughts to share. I keep seeing the wheels turning.
Well, the wheels turn in my head all the time, these guys know. Sometimes I just love to listen, and I love to listen to these guys because they've got such powerful voices and the ideas that they showcase. And Tim put some really powerful statements there about tolerance. And we've not only have we done like the kindness games, the real kindness games, but we've also got another session, what we call the human side of security. And again, we talk about those topics that nobody wants to talk about, because we feel that, again, like what everybody's just said, if you're not talking about it, you're not doing justice, right? And also, if you say to someone, and I loved what Keikishan said about, you can't talk about politics, religion, blah, 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 at the dinner table. For me, what you're doing then is you're suppressing ideas, and you're suppressing that individual's energy. And I always remember I used to go to my ex-wife's for Thanksgiving, and I'm just going to say it, one side was blue and the other side was red, right? And it nearly got to fisticuffs literally all the time. And we had, my daughters are now 10 and 8. And at the time, I think they were like, 3 and Ella was like a baby. And I was like, I'm going to take the kids out of the house. Like, they do not need to be around this. And a lot of times I used to say, can we not just hug it out? Can we not just agree to disagree? But also think about, the power of debate. And I love to debate with someone. And I think it's one of the most healthiest exercises that you can go through when you debate with someone. And having a difference of opinion is where the magic happens. It's where the growth, you become creative, right? So, like as Tim and I don't even know if Keikishan knows, but I know Tim and Kelsey know, and my dogs agree in the background, as you can hear. Good job, guys. Good job. They're killers, by the way. They're going to savage someone at the door, but with kindness. Remember that, okay? Not vicious, with kindness. But it's, you just, I think what we're doing is we're removing barriers, okay? And we're not just removing them, we're like stripping them away and kicking them down. And that's what I really love about this group, GSD, the kindness games, what you're doing, Sarah, and what Leo Des is doing. And I just feel that like no one really, like, it's like, just bring everybody together. Come on, let's all come together. Let's all come together and let's just be creative. Oh yeah, but they're only young professionals. I don't care. Like, we should be lifting everybody up. Oh yeah, but can we be seen with yeah, of course we can have everybody on there. We want diversity. Diversity. We want innovation. We want these ideas, and that's what we're trying to do is bring everybody together. Really challenge the norm. Encourage everybody to reach out and just talk and enjoy. It's like, I think it was Kelsey said, if you're struggling with kindness and it's like, and you don't have kindness as part of your life, then that's a bit strange, right? If you're struggling to be kind, then again, I would question you, hey, what's going on in your life? But guess what? I am going to put my arm around you and say, come on, what's going on? And I've been doing a lot, in men's mental health. And that's not to say that women don't have mental health issues either. But the reason why I've been helping out men is because, again, being an ex-military guy, where you couldn't talk about it, where it was a taboo subject, is that I know how much these men were struggling. And I think that where we've come together, this powerful group, is that we're just throwing everything on the table, and we don't care. Like, if we upset each other, we talk it through, right? Or and that's the thing, is like, we're all great friends, but guess what? We do disagree too, but we disagree kindly, okay? And we talk it through. Or if someone says something out of, that wasn't very kind, was it? So you get called out, right? So I just love what we've created, and again, what we're creating for the community and society. And again, putting the conversation back to technologies, if we didn't have technology and it hadn't pivoted and evolved like it had over the pandemic, I wouldn't have met you, Sarah. I wouldn't have had these conversations that we're having today. And it's just like, our profiles have gone up, but guess what? We're not being egotistical about it. We're using it in a powerful way to give back to others. So yeah, I did have a few ideas, and you could see that, right?
Yeah, and I'd just like to tag on a little bit. This week is inauguration week, and we have soldiers in the streets of DC. We have chain link fence up. And the reason we've gotten here is because we refused to talk about taboo subjects until they got to the point where they were too inflammatory to actually talk about. And so what are our options? Because we have the inability to have conversation, because we have enough people saying this topic is off limits. You cannot talk about it. You cannot have another opinion about it. All we have left is violence, which is terrible, right? So let's rewind. Let's get back to the place where we can have kind conversation, lead with curiosity on any topic, and bring civility back to our world.
I'm like mesmerized sitting here listening to this, because when I get onto these calls, usually for Innovation Nation, my like engineering brain is going, and like, that's what I am by trade. I'm very technical, and I feel like just listening to this conversation has challenged the way I think, in a sense, this short, 40 minutes, 30 minutes of just hearing you guys talk. And I think what's interesting is that the status quo isn't kind anymore. Bottom line, we live in a world of extremes right now. And to your point, Tim, we went from like A to Z like that overnight. And why it doesn't really matter, right? It is what it is today. And I think, to your point, we need to rewind. We need to take a step back. And I think what's interesting about technology, and what I'm realizing, the epiphany I'm having, is that we keep talking, you guys keep talking about this choice, right? You get to make the choice to be kind. You get to make the choice to have the conversation. Lee, you wake up every morning and you choose to be kind. And I think it's really interesting, because technology, if anything, gives us a really, really great choice. We as individuals get to wake up every morning and decide what we want to learn, what we want to read about, what we want to educate ourselves with. Like every morning of quarantine, I get to wake up and decide what article do I want to read? How am I going to spend my time today instead of staring at the wall, right? Because the options are so limited in life of what we can actually do now. And you get to choose to be kind. And it's interesting because like back, a few months ago, I actually got off of Instagram. This is more of a, societal example, but I chose to stop using Instagram. And it was one of like the hardest choices, to be honest, that I've ever made, because I felt like that was my choice and how I was going to connect with my network at the time. Like my whole life of using Instagram, that was my choice to connect with others through that kind of technology. And then coming back to, I'm sorry if it's breaking up right now, but hopefully you guys can still hear me. Coming back to, LinkedIn and the kindness games and how we're using Zoom and how we're all connecting, like getting rid of that type of social media, which in my mind is a very extreme platform. Like it's really hard to get onto Instagram and not feel like influenced, which is why people are called influencers now, right? And like that's their job, is to influence. It's so interesting because when you come to LinkedIn, you could make a better choice about what you're going to talk about, learn about. It's more career oriented. You have all these different news sources in one place. And it's like, I don't ever feel an extreme of like one or the other. I actually feel like it's a little bit more of an open platform. And the algorithm, as we know, is a different algorithm than the Instagram one. But what I'm trying to get at is that technology has created such a wave of influence on everybody today. And what I love is that you guys have taken the opportunity to use technology for the better. And you guys have taken an opportunity to come together, bring people with opposing opinions together and unite over something in common that we as humans should have more of, right? And not be sitting at two ends of the spectrum. Because why, like the real question is why, right? Like when Kate and Sean talk about dinner and not be able to talk about religion and politics. Well, if you really think about it, the conversations doesn't have to necessarily be around your thought and your belief in which side you sit on. Maybe it should be more around the why. How did you get to where you think? Like, tell me what you feel. Tell me how you think about this subject more than what you actually think. Do you guys get what I'm saying there? Does it make sense? Like,
Yeah.
How did you arrive to that opinion?
Well, and it's super important when you say like, oh, we shouldn't talk about religion and politics, because that's a problem. That religion or whatever your value-based outlook on society is the foundations you built for who you are.
Yeah.
And if we actually can't have a kind discussion about that, I can't know you. It's an impossibility. If I don't understand how you look at the world, then we're doomed to constant insult, to constant mental injury, to constant annoyance, and we're doomed to tolerance, which is a terrible way to live. And technology is great, but the reason we keep talking about a choice is because you choose the direction you allow your brain to go. You choose what you consume, right? And you choose how much you consume. We need to set limits for what we do, how often we do it, and when we do it, right? There are certain times to consume different types of information. There's times to turn it off. This age of information, Keikishan and I did a really great session in the Real Kindness Games about the age of information and how it's bombarding us with so much information. But it's making us feel like we should have a position on every single topic. But when we have a position that we only hear about, that we haven't ourselves reasoned through, then we end up renting a position and staking a claim there without any knowledge, right? And so now we have to defend something we don't know about. And it's okay to say, I'm not really interested in that. I don't really care. But I'd love to hear what you think about it because I haven't researched it. And I think one of the byproducts of all of this technology, it's a negative byproduct, is the feeling of having to be informed or smart about everything. Like you can't know everything. It's impossible. You can't have a well-reasoned opinion on everything. So just let that go. And actually, you'll be perceived as more intelligent when you say like, yeah, I don't know about that, but I'd like to hear your opinions, because that would be an interesting conversation to have. I'd like to learn. Kekishan, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think you really need to be open to other opinions, right? Like if you end up being in a conversation with when everyone agrees with you, you're kind of in an echo chamber. You're having the same opinions and someone else is telling you exactly what you think, and you're going back and forth. Like you don't necessarily want to have those conversations because neither of you are growing. You're doing both of yourself disservices because you are not gaining the experience of the world. We live in such a unique world now. We have globalization. We're almost in a world where we live without borders because we can have relationships with people who live outside of our cities, our states, our countries, our cultures. I have a completely different culture than Tim, Kelsey, and Lee, and I'm sure they have, something that's much unique for themselves as well. We have to learn to celebrate each other's differences and uniqueness because it's what's going to make our society so much more colorful, right? Like if we're not colorful, we might as well be robots and be led by computers because that's to be human is to have a unique experience. It's to be made up of different experiences that you've had throughout your life, people that you've met. So open up your circle, right? Like I talk about resilience all the time. To be resilient, you have to have a community that one is supportive, but also one that is full of diverse views and opinions, because that is what's going to make sure that you bounce back from any sort of challenge that you might have. So my advice to anyone who's always like, well, how do I become a better person? One, have like a growth mindset, right? Like be in the opinion that every day I'm going to wake up and I'm going to learn something new, and just be open to that concept, right? And if you're not open to that concept, man, you're gonna have a really hard time being in a very innovative world, because that's really what we're all about today, right? So I love the concept of the kindness games. I'm just excited I was brought onto the journey. And Kelsey, I love that you brought your family into the kindness games. Like I thought that was like the best thing that had happened during the kindness games. Like if you haven't caught it, there was like a whole montage of every single person in Kelsey's family just being like a kind human. Kelsey, would you want to talk about that a little bit? How you got people to like actually join in?
Sure. No, I think another point that I just wanted to bring up, based off of what Tim and Kekishan said, I think it's also important to be curious about people who have similar opinions, because it's, I don't want to say it's easy to be curious about differentiating opinions, but it's also, you might have the same opinion, or you might have the same belief, but you have different opinions of why you got to the same thought. So I think that's also interesting, because we might agree on something and we might both think the same thing, but how did we get to that thought? And I know that everybody has kind of brought that up too, but how you get there is where the curiosity comes in. So I think that also is interesting. But yeah, Kekishan, I mean, it was potential bribery to some of my family members. They all were like, I hate videos. But I think that it was really important because I hear probably like 6-ish months. No, it hasn't been that long. 4, 5 months, whatever. That it really has made an impact. So I just did it because family was my first shout out. That was who I called out, my mom, dad, sister, brother. And then for my 30th post, I had everybody send me like a snippet video of what kindness means to them, how they spread kindness. And I think some people have brought it into their workplace. So some of my family members have continued that kindness journey, I guess. But also, I think it really just uplifted a good amount of people, whether it's the crazy time that we're in or if it was just changing that mindset. But yeah, I was pretty pumped. A lot of people joined in.
I think just because, out of time being, respect to time, I want to just say first off, Kelsey, like your comment and the actual act of bringing the family. And I remember watching or seeing that post. And it actually was, what was so interesting is because like when I was talking earlier of Instagram, LinkedIn, like I'm choosing where I want to go and my outlets and who I'm interacting with. And then having been on LinkedIn for so long and only thinking about my colleagues for work in that platform, when you made that post, I remember, and I think there was someone else there's someone now who's been, Janet's been doing some posts with her family. And it just like reminded me how I needed to go to my parents and go to my sisters and go to my uncles and say, hey, like, thanks for everything you've done. It was so interesting how you brought that in and kind of meshed those two worlds, brought it together in like the best way. And I think that's what we're here for. Like, that's what this is all about. And I think also that we need more of that, where, you don't just show up to work and just be that robot at work for work, right? Like, why can't we be more real people at work? And why can't we be more, maybe we want to have those challenging conversations at the dinner table? Like, why can't we bring that and like flip flop it or mesh it together, because that's what makes us who we are. And I think by you showing your family and even just bringing it to LinkedIn and like having your whole platform and all your network, like, see that you are a real person behind the screen there. Like, it's just a nice feeling, a nice reminder. And I think that I'm happy to have you guys here today, because for those who listen, I have now over like 200 people who are following, Innovation Nation. And I'm really hoping that for those people who follow, this is a really good reminder, right? That we're all human and we need to be kind and we need to wake up and challenge the status quo. And today we know the status quo is very extreme. Let's rewind. Let's take a step back. Let's realize that we're here to do good. Hopefully, I really hope most of the people in this world want good things to come out of our efforts. But I just want to kind of wrap it up and allow you guys now to have any last comments. Maybe we'll go through the line of each of you on this call today. And I just want to propose a part B, if you guys are open to that. We will have to extend this and maybe we can dissect a more specific topic in the next call. But starting with you, Kelsey, and then we'll go down the line. I'll let you guys chime in and we'll do some last thoughts.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody on the call and everybody who's joined the Kindness Games. I think definitely you can tell if you have been following or if you've even just seen this video that it definitely has made a huge impact on all of us. I know for me, it definitely has. I know I mentioned this, but it helped my extroverted quarantine. At the same time that I really think it just changed my mindset. I know Tim, I could totally embarrass you for a second. Tim totally changed my mindset because just a few conversations that we've had, curiosity is a huge contributor to this. So he definitely helped me with my mindset there. Lee as well, accepting failure, I think. So everybody on this call has definitely helped. It's really become like a second family. I love to use that word, but really I have only met Tim in person, and this whole group, I feel closer than majority of my connections. So I think just everybody keep doing what you're doing. I think if we can try to do a simple act of kindness every day, it's not a lot to ask. It's like one Salesforce task that your manager asked you to do, right? Similar. All you have to do is hold the door, buy someone a coffee, or just smile at someone. That's so free. It does not cost anything. And I always say kindness is free and we need more of it. So I'm going to drop the mic there and hand it off to Keikashan.
Thank you, Kelsey. That, man, you're always just so good at like getting right to the point at the very beginning and just closing it all up. So no, I think you're so right. Like, kindness does not cost anything. In fact, it can make our world such a better place to live in, to wake up every day knowing that you're surrounded by good, kind people who are there to lift you up and to push you forward is just such an incredible feeling. I am grateful to be part of the kindness crew in GSD because it's made me such a better person. I would also encourage you, like whoever's listening, take on a mentee. Finding a mentor is incredibly difficult for a young professional because it's really difficult to ask for help, especially when you're younger. I think as you get older, you realize asking for help is you're actually doing something kind to the person you're asking, whose help you're asking for. Like, they actually appreciate being called out as well. So, maybe just offer yourself up as a mentor, because that is something really kind you can do to a young professional whose life you might change. I frequently say this: Tim has changed my life as a mentor. And so thank you, Tim, Lee, and Kelsey, for just being in my life and making my life more diverse and kinder and happier. So I will leave it at that.
We'll go with you, Lee. Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna get him, because I bet Tim's got something planned anyway. He's probably got like a big grandiose speech to take us out. Anyway, Sarah, first of all, thank you so much for inviting us on. We really appreciate the platform to be able to, share what is, all of our gifts. And I hope that it's, resonated and impacted with your audience today. And for those of you who are watching this, we want to thank you all as well for taking the time to listen to some of the things that we've had to say today. And we hope that it's of good value. And all we're going to do, us on our other platforms that we have, we're going to keep encouraging, we're going to keep challenging, we're going to keep ripping down those barriers, bringing people together in unison. And we know that the world is still going through challenging times, and we are agents of positivity, and we will keep supporting, as many people that we can. If anybody that is watching, would like to reach out to us, please contact us personally or collectively. I know every single one of us is always willing to take time out of their day. And when we say time, usually a couple of hours, we're not shy of getting online with, guys and girls, and, just spreading that kindness and positivity. So thanks again, Sarah. Thanks to all of your followers. And thanks to my kindness crew, who are just, gangsters. I love them all, every single one of them. And, thanks for the positivity, the inspiration, and the empowerment that you've all given to me in my life. So that's all I've got to say. Over to you, Brother Tim.
Kindness and gangsters. I like it. I like it. I've never thought of it that way, but why not? No, I don't really have anything super deep and spiritual to share. I didn't really think about it this morning. Sorry. I slept in, so it feels kind of early for me. But no, I would just say that during these times when we're all kind of sequestered in our homes, not allowed to do the things we enjoy with the people that we want to be doing them with, just make it a point, if you can do it every week, if you can even stretch yourself and do it every day, just let someone know that they're seen, that you acknowledge their existence and their effort. I think that makes a huge deal right now in the lives of people. I actually think a lot of this outrage that we see is from people who are desperately wanting to be acknowledged and seen, because of the times we find ourselves in this pandemic.
I think we're going to have to, at the end of the day, you guys, I think we're going to have to make this a part B at some point, because there's so much I feel like we can do with what we discussed today. And there's so many different lanes we can go down. And I just want to thank you all again for your time. This definitely was like a little bit of a longer one than I was expecting, or just that I'm used to doing. And I think it was so necessary because, as I think we're most likely going to be posting this as episode number 19 and right before my 20th episode. And I just think that it's really cool that you guys can kind of spring and start this, conversation with Innovation Nation now, because we get to think about other things besides just technology and how we can use technology to be kind. So I just want to thank you guys again. And I really appreciate your time today on this holiday. For some of you, I know some of you are off today. So thank you for joining me, and get ready for part B. That'll be coming very, very soon. So once again, thank you. And if anybody who's listening in wants to meet or introduce yourselves to anyone who was on with me today, we will post links to their LinkedIns in the post today. Or when we post it, you'll have all of their names and their information. And then we'll be back soon. So thank you guys again, and have a wonderful day today.